think we're talking enough that we should put it in a podcast again. And then you got the camera, and here we are.
We were some fresh-faced boys.
Yes.
And
You didn't have the
more
curls.
hair on my beard and none of it on my head.
It felt like an adventure.
I can hear the music playing in my head.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Bottom. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me is the stray cat.
Oh, hey everybody. How is it going?
How you doing, Paul? We both just came back from errands.
I know. It's been, it was a day that we filled with things that needed to be done, and then all of a sudden half the day was gone.
Yeah. And I tell you, when I have to do errands where I'm at, there's no bigger hell than going through El Salvador traffic, where there's no respect for traffic signs. Everyone's like driving in complete anarchy. No one wants to be nice. Even if you're asking, hey, I want to cross. No, I'm gonna cross first. It's constant pandemonium. Especially that's usually in every Latino country. But what's funny is that Filipino traffic is worse, if you want to believe it. I once went to the Philippines and got to experience that. But yeah, that kind of like tilted me. And I'm glad we get to escape for a little bit to just enjoy some stuff. But what else was with your life?
It's hot. It's really hot out here, and
no more rain.
It's no more rain for right now. It keeps threatening to rain, and then it doesn't. So then we're just kind of chilling in heat, and it's dying. And then there's thunder off in the distance, and you're like, must be nice. Anything else going on with you?
Yeah, just no more rain. Not as much rain, but also hot as hell right now. So good thing there's AC. And I feel bad for everyone that's in the heat advisories that are happening. I saw news that a lot of states are getting heat warnings. And I'm like, ooh.
Yep. They actually, to drive that home, the city of New Orleans started shutting off power to some commercial areas to save on power because of how many people are using the AC to survive right now. So like I had to actually, on Tuesday, I walked into a couple of places and all of their power had just randomly shut off, and they're like, what is going on? And I was like, oh yeah, I think I heard about this. So everyone was really pissed about it.
I bet.
Because obviously it's like all those places don't get notified, and then their power just shuts off for several hours. So that's weird.
And it gets humid hot there, right?
Yes. Oof. It is a different kind of hot than most other places. I think you would understand it because you're tropical, so it should be pretty humid out that way. But for anybody listening that doesn't understand it, and they're like, oh, these pretentious people saying, oh, it's not the heat, it's the humidity, it's absolutely true. You will walk outside and it'll feel like you're breathing through a wet blanket. And it's harder to breathe when that happens, and you can't do anything. They literally say, don't go outside, don't walk, don't do chores, just stay inside, because you will just drop from heat exhaustion.
I couldn't imagine. Yeah, I couldn't imagine just the normal people wearing like normal work shirts and jeans walking out in that kind of heat. That sounds like perpetual short and tank top weather.
It's bad. I have to wear jeans for about 2 hours to go to church, and it's about the most miserable feeling because I have to wear like these outdoorsman shorts at all times anywhere else, because it's just too hot for anything more than like very thin athletic gear.
Yeah, but don't worry, Paul, only 2 more months for fall.
Oh, trust me, my fall doesn't really begin until like the middle of December.
Yeah.
As far as weather goes.
Sucks for you. But
it does.
But enough of weather talk, because this is the X Bottom Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Thursdays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing, available in the YouTube channel Escape Media, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at anchor.fm/escape-media. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. And before we talk about the games that we've been playing, Paul, I just have to give a shout out to this new Resident Evil show that's on Netflix. I started watching it yesterday, and I tell you, the hyperbole of what I was seeing, because Paul Tassi was tweeting about it and some other clips, I'm in disbelief that they make that show like that. And the worst part is that it's supposed to be canon to Resident Evil 5, and that to me blows my mind. And you're muted.
That would do it.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, I was gonna ask where it was supposed to be canon, because I don't know anything about it outside of the memes that people keep posting.
Hmm.
I'm like, where would this line up with all that's going on
Yeah,
right now?
the return of Albert Wesker, which is weird because Albert Wesker wasn't black, and Lance Reddick plays Albert Wesker here. But the things that he's really good, that I don't care that they've kind of like in their way they've justified why they have like recast him as that dude. But just seeing that there's this moment where like a scientist goes on a Dua Lipa song. There's this girl that absolutely looks like Billie Eilish and was introduced with a Billie Eilish song. These weird things happening like in the future post-apocalypse. It's like I haven't seen a show be like this baffling, and I want to keep watching because...
Well, you see, Alejandro, it's obviously real life, because this is set after COVID in 2020, where everyone has just lost their collective mind.
That's what's so funny. They mentioned COVID there, which is,
man,
I couldn't believe it. And for everyone watching, if you want to see train wrecks, like, let's put it like this: I constantly watch the train wreck, the train wreck that's Riverdale, and I love it.
So it's along that string, it seems.
Yeah. So it's like, if you like that kind of trash, definitely watch it. It's like, it's unbelievable, but I'm glad someone had the balls to do something like that. But Paul, tell me, what have you been playing?
Well, I'll start it off with the most recent thing was Destiny 2 had its Solstice event begin.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with one little thing that just made me a little sad, is that when they made all of these Solstice armor available, I think it was only the last 2 years worth.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that's really cool, that's yours with like the glowing horns and like the tassels, isn't available, which made me really sad because that was the one I wanted. But you were right, there's an option for Bright Dust for those items.
Mm-hmm.
So I might either save up or buy it. I haven't decided yet. It's interesting because at first I was really lost on how it works, but it's fun. The game mode itself is really cool. I kind of wish it stayed around.
It's improved from what it was before. It's much quicker.
Oh, yeah. The event game mode or the process?
Both.
Because I did hear, okay, I knew the process was completely revamped, which I appreciate now, because now I understand
you
it
needed
more.
to do individual challenges per armor piece, and you had to evolve a green piece into a blue piece into a purple piece as it went. Now, right out of the gate, they give you a legendary set, and you upgrade the stats with the thing. I played it a little bit yesterday and did one thing, and then I was like, I'll just I like my old armor, the one that has all the glows. I like the aesthetic of that, so I enjoy this new one. I may transmog it, but I'm still in that Destiny burnout phase that I don't want to play the game right now.
Yeah, I fully understand that, because if I wasn't really motivated by this specific thing of always missing a solstice before now, and now I'm like, I will get all of these armor pieces. Also, I'm motivated in a separate way because I found out recently that one of the armor pieces Xur sold is not able to be transmogged.
Okay. Which one?
Yeah. It was the illicit invader armor piece. I thought it was a glitch, and then somebody explained to me that no, because it predated, I guess, the process somehow. There's like a specific armor sets in the game that can't be transmogged. And those are one of them.
Yeah, that's interesting because supposedly everything that you have ever collected was transmogged, so it must be a glitch.
It's supposed to be. But they said that there's certain armor sets that are still like that, and illicit invader is one of them. So it's a really great resilience roll, and I can't change the look of it. So this might be my opportunity to get some alternative, really good armor for my arms that I can just kind of go and still look good, because as we know, I am obsessed with transmogging, and I will give up a good piece of armor and put it in the vault if I can change the look of something else, which might not make sense, but that's what I do. Besides that, I found some indie games that I got really into. I only played a fraction of the ones I picked up on Deep Sale, the first of which was Chasm.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that you recognized it, because I was like, man, I wonder how recognizable this game is if it's like one of those lost gems or nobody knows.
It was a perpetually delayed indie also.
Really?
Yeah.
I can see why, because it is. I watched the trailer, and the trailer single-handedly made me want to get it because it is meaty. There are so many different weapons. There's so much pixel art animation. It like spreads out like Hollow Knight's map with all of the different things you can do, and it's kind of shocking. And it's plays just like Symphony of the Night. There's like a whole dash button. There's spells. There's regular attacks, and it's just feels so good to move. And everything is really snappy. And I feel awesome running through it. So I'm definitely going to play more of that. Besides that, I wanted to get some chill vibes in. Started playing Spiritfarer.
So
Now,
you said chill with Spiritfarer.
okay,
because
let
of
me
how it
clarify.
looks. But it's not a chill experience. It's a very melancholic.
No. Well, it's a chill melancholic. So, because compared to like the shooters and the crazy dungeon crawlers and stuff, that is like the Animal Crossing plus dying. And excuse me, essentially for anybody not knowing, you have basically taken over for Karen, the which is so weird to say out loud, the Charon, the dude that ferries people through the river Styx.
Which, by the way,
over.
just as an aside, because I mentioned Riverdale, Karen appears in that show. Sabrina summons Karen to bring in some people into the afterlife to go rescue Archie and a bunch of people that died.
We're just going around and having all sorts of talks. I'm glad that I constantly think of Percy Jackson whenever I hear him, because he showed up as a character in the first book. Anyway,
he's Greek mythology. Yeah, Karen.
Right. So it was interesting of a concept, and then you just start picking it up, and from there it's like a lot of management systems, 2D, all hand-drawn art, you baking things, piloting the ship, planting seeds and picking them up, and dealing with the requests that everybody has for you. And by the end of it, their last request is to deal with something they didn't do in life, and then they pass on forever, leaving your ship, but leaving their house permanently fixed in your ship, which is like, that's heavy stuff.
I'll tell you,
I know it's going to be rough, but
I played this on Xbox back in December 2020, and depending on what kind of loss you had in your life, you may be leaving devastated by the end of this game.
I am fully prepared, because I know that people were saying it's like kind of a good way to process stuff if you had people that you lost that you weren't able to really process that. And I have a lot of those. So it was kind of similar to if you remember, not The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, the other one that's kind of like that, with all of the dead family members in the house.
From the creators of the Unfinished one?
Yes. And I cannot remember
the name. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, please do. So anyway, that one, similar vein, where it's like if you had family members that you lost.
What Remains of Edith Finch.
That's it. Which is also another fantastic indie game to walk through and just feel the emotions of. But yeah, so I've walked through that, and that kind of gave me a little bit of catharsis for some of the family members I lost, and I'm hoping that this is kind of a similar thing, but also it's adorable and calming.
It hits harder for me, because it's like you see the cute art style, and you see more, and Edith Finch is like the people are already lost. You're reliving the loss of people through like the memories that you're uncovering. In here, you're like transferring the people to the afterlife.
Right. So like they're physically there.
It hits harder.
Yeah. So I'm prepared for a lot of really rough times, but it's a very different kind of game, and I knew it was on my list for a long time, so that's why it's there. Then for the funsies, I downloaded Red Faction Guerilla Remastered.
So you already owned that game before, or did you just buy it
on PC? And I played some of it. I think it corrupted my save file like 10 years ago or something. And then I was like, that was like before the Remastered edition came out. So this one was like on a deep sale for like $4 or $5 or something. So I picked that up because I knew it felt great. And boy, that was such a good experience. I'm still working through it. It was like that old playing Jack 2 after years. It honestly reminded me of the shooting of Mass Effect. and it made me want to, like, I put it on the wish list for the Mass Effect Legendary Collection, because now I'm like, oh, that kind of felt good. I want to go back to that. But anyway, just the raw adrenaline of destroying every construction that you can. The physics, the driving is really fun. Everything involving that, not involving the plot at all. The plot is just not even there. I don't pay attention to it. It's just like, all right, go here, blow things up, kill these enemies, maybe rescue somebody, but have fun. And I'm like, that's all you needed to say. Let's go. So that's just been a great healing experience for me. And then lastly, we finished Uncharted 3 last time we played it, and we were about to go into Uncharted 4, and then I'm mad at you because everything you said popped into my head, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it because I feel like we're at a good point. I want to kind of see how good or bad Uncharted 1 lives up to. I will say there's a lot that I didn't remember that I enjoyed. One is that
simple.
It's simple. It's way more vibrant than I remember, because I only remember like
the PS3 version.
Well, the PS3 version. Turns out I have played it on the Lake. God, good Lord, Nathan Drake collection, whatever. Yeah. But I didn't remember how like colorful it was. I will say it does definitely start to get a little samey after a while, because it's like, all right, it's just
one biome.
Yeah. Lots of forest, and that's about it. But I could see where it was like coming from. The voices and the performances absolutely are what shines through during that.
Still, and just thinking that's how it started, and just kind of like that basic quick introduction that sells you on the characters in that first game.
Definitely. It's so quick, where it's like, all right, we're in the middle of this thing. All of a sudden there's pirates. Drake's clearly got some sketchy stuff going on. Elaine is competent, but also a little bit naive. It's just everybody, that whole trio is fantastic.
Now, it's weird, right, that the first game holds up better than 3 in this collection, like at least from like performance-wise.
Because I haven't had nearly as many glitches as 3 did. Like 3 actually was breaking in several places, some of which I showed you, some of which were just,
which is
like,
sad because it didn't break like me. It just like, it was just the animation that was like breaking for me.
And any time I've died in the first game was either my fault, or I found out there, even on easy, there's parts where they will insta-kill you if you don't do what they want you to do. That was really annoying, because there was a spot I was escaping from the villain after the U-boat exploding, and if I didn't get out of the way of their gunfire in 3 seconds, I would instantly die.
Yeah,
and
we're still talking about 1, right?
Yeah. And I could not get around the corner, so I would just keep dying over and over again, because my foot would get caught on the lip because it was a fixed camera angle. I think we've established now fixed camera angles seem to really mess me up no matter what it is, because I can't understand where the perspective is. But anyway, it was like, it's better than I thought. It was okay,
especially considering the order. The order should have been, you should have started here and climbed up.
Honestly, I'm still like on the fence of if I should have even done it in the first place, but I want to at least add the context for how they meet, because I know at the very end you find that picture of them at the end of Uncharted 1, so I was like, you know what, being able to remember that fresh is going to be kind of nice. So I'm just going to burn through it and see what we can do, and then we'll go into 4.
I only cared about that especially because you were playing it with your wife who had never played him, so that's why I was like very adamant, at least just put this thing on the easiest thing and just go through 1. Just like,
and it's funny, she definitely wasn't vibing with it at first. Like, it was good because the back and forth, and then like in that middle corner, she was just not interested in some of the events going on, because it was really like a middling, all right, go in this room, kill 10 guys, go in this room, kill 10 guys, or this area of the jungle. So I'm hoping that it either picks up or it finishes soon.
What chapter are you?
We're only on like 6. It just feels like, I know it. You said it was gonna be fast, and this does not feel fast.
I beat it in literally 4 hours. So
I do not know how, because we've spent about 2 hours each night, and I'm going through And the only time I kept dying was that one spot. So I've been just kind of moving along. I don't know how you move that quick, but
maybe it's because I played this game a lot. I know it at the back of my head.
There was one point that like I couldn't figure out where to go, and I had to
There you go.
Video. That was one point, but that was like 10 minutes. Because I don't bother looking for things for a really long time anymore.
You shouldn't, because this game after a while tells you press this button to see where to go. Hey, we should go there.
See, that's the funny thing. I did that and it only pointed out where I needed to go, and I knew where I needed to go. I just couldn't figure out how to get up there. And it turns out there was like, it was in that water room in like that big chateau looking place. And I had to climb on top of like a random cover piece to jump on top of this wooden planking and pull myself up. And I was like, that's garbage. So yeah, my usual ability to miss the point of whatever they need me to see is going full steam. So yeah, it's a bit of a drag, and I'm really hoping that we can just pick our speed up, because otherwise I'm gonna think this is a mistake. But at least in the journey, it's been kind of entertaining.
Oh yeah.
So what have you been playing?
So I did finish Uncharted 3. I was like halfway through it last week when I was talking about it, and we had that long Uncharted conversation. I'm thankful I didn't have as glitching as an experience as you did, but this has been like this was the playthrough where I have always loved this game a lot. I always had a soft spot for it because of the Last Crusade inspirations, but now I'm like noticing more and more. I'm like, yeah, it's real unfortunate. This is the one Naughty Dog game in the modern era that I see how amazed, like how this could have been like full flat, the absolute best of all of them. And it only needed a few more months to cook in its animation and in its flow. That even though I still enjoyed the spectacle of it, I still think it's spectacle-wise is still the top of the series. It just doesn't feel as cohesive as everything around it. Because then immediately, it's funny, then following that up, I didn't go into Uncharted 4 immediately. I actually took a little break and finally went and finished Last of Us Remastered. Like I said a couple weeks ago, that I kind of wanted to play it in an academic way just to have a basis for the remake. And Last of Us Remastered holds up 95% of the time, which is a lot considering how old it is now, 9 years. Like its stealth gameplay to me is still really satisfying. I like how messy it can get when you get spotted and you don't want to. And it's the only stealth game that I don't mind getting spotted and just trying to figure myself out of it, because I think that's kind of the point of like, okay, all available resources here at this moment. Do you have this grenade? Do you have the Molotov? Do you have like your bat? Oh, you only have one here. Oh, maybe there's another battle here. Let's run, pick it, and try to melee, and hoping probably Ellie's gonna throw a brick that will distract you. You can just go smash the head. And that's still really fun, even though there's kind of like I was mentioning with Uncharted 3, these were the two games that animation wise, when you're like meleeing, it feels like it skips animation frames, so it feels very jumpy. And that's like the one area that, knowing how smooth they made their animation going forward, that's one of the areas that I feel is gonna improve more when we get to like remake. And I still freaking love the ending of that first game, especially like I was like texting you just thinking about, especially when I actually still did like a normal playthrough where I actually collect stuff and read the journals, listen to the audio stuff. I like playing it organically like that, even if I've done it before. Noticing one of the audio things from like the hospital when you're at the end, when they're mentioning how them finding Ellie's cure feels like the equivalent of finding like penicillin, and how that could like change humanity. I was just like, this feels very like prescient. I'm just kind of thinking the scenario of where we are right now with a pandemic that's still raging, even though people think it's not. There's a new variant there. Just thinking, what would have been like if the doctors that were making our vaccines had been killed and humanity was left? And then just thinking about like the different like complicated perspectives that ending brings, like someone's fatherly affection in his actions at the end versus what that means for like the rest of the world, and kind of how playing those perspectives. There's like no really right or wrong. It's like there's like this complicated gray area that's kind of what they took for the second game. It's not very clear black and white, but it just made me think more than other times. So it was really cool getting to replay that, because I'm gonna replay it again when we get remake. And then moving into Uncharted 4 from there, I feel this has been, especially through the Legacy of Thieves collection, I feel this is the best way for me to like experience these games, because I am noticing if there's something Naughty Dog does really well is build upon itself no matter the game. Everything they learned from Last of Us Remastered, well, not Remastered, just Last of Us in general, seeing that then be applied over to Uncharted and kind of bringing in that kind of mindset into this game instead of jumping from the pulpier 1 through 3 into like the more like adventure, like more longer adventure exploration side of 4. And this has been like, in the many times that I replayed this game, this has been the most I have enjoyed Uncharted 4. But I feel specifically the Legacy of Thieves collection has made Uncharted 4 like the most fun I've ever had with it, because I finally put a finger in the pulse of why I always felt off going to that. It's hard to go from a 60 frames per second Uncharted trilogy on PS4 to then go into a 30 frames there, where everything feels a little slower. So I always enjoyed the story, but that I didn't quite enjoy as much playing it, because everything's a little bit more the way Nate moves. It's like better animated but more deliberate. Everything's a little bit more grounded, so everything is snappier before. But them adding the 60 frames, it unlocked the combat for me. And I didn't realize, you mentioned something about like Uncharted 4 having like the best action, and I said that I disagreed with that.
Yeah.
But now playing it through this enhanced version, now I agree it does have the best action, because now having more control over your character thanks to the extra frame rate, you cannot deny the satisfaction of, because this game improved stealth from the previous Uncharted games. Like,
yeah,
like you feel like you move
Uncharted
better.
games previous stealth was like non-existent.
In the first game, it didn't exist at all. 2 started toying around with it. 3 had a better mechanic, because 3 introduced that you could press square and then jump into someone like from the top. The problem was that 3's levels weren't designed. Most of the levels where you think you could do stealth were not properly designed for stealth. So my favorite in 3 is when you go inside the cruise ship that has the big piano in the middle. That was what's funny is that in the E3 2011 demo that they showed of Uncharted 3, that section only had 2 enemies that you could like snap the neck and move forward. They made that section an entire combat part where you can only snap the neck of someone, and then everything is like you start getting enemies flooded in. So it's so funny that Drake says, I gotta do this quietly, but the only time to do that level is shoot yourself out of it. 4 allows you to, like, many combat scenarios, especially early on, you can do them completely stealth, if not completely skip them.
Yep.
And that to me is like great design intent, because this same design intent, they moved it forward with Last of Us Part 2. And there's something funny of being in the grass, snap the neck, use the rope, swing, fly, jump, grab someone.
Like an entirely different kind of game whenever Uncharted 4's stealth mechanics come in. And because there's so much verticality now, it's like almost an entirely different thing to like, all right, let's ping and spot our enemies. Let's see their walking process. Let's see where they go, who they talk to. We're gonna break this dude's neck, go over here and take that dude out, make sure he drops in the grass. And it's like, most times I feel like stealth kind of takes away from the combat from some games, but Uncharted felt like, I mean, I just by that point probably didn't have the patience for it, but it felt like it was actually viable and really interesting to do.
Because the game is still like it's very freewheeling, so it's part of your repertoire of what you can do.
And it drops special weapons whenever you do.
Always that's always in 2 and 3. If you got someone through stealth, you can get like an extra ammo or like a different weapon when you did that. But it made me appreciate that design a little better. And also, I've always said the beginning of Uncharted 4 is very slow. Like, I tried playing Uncharted 4 when we got this collection in January, and I found it boring. But coming into it with the pacing of Last of Us in mind, the initial sections to me were riveting now in that pace, which is so funny. Kind of like having that Last of Us kind of like reset what you're expecting pacing. And the best part is that Uncharted 4 is the only one of the 4 games that ramps up. Uncharted 2 is always ramped up, and then when you reach the monastery, plummets. This one, it always happens to me all the time. Every time I reach chapter 16, no matter when I play it, that's when you get the origin story of when they got the Drake and the Drake's mother. I always then make sure that I finish that game immediately after. It re-energizes me to just get to the ending. I finished this game at like 2-3 in the morning, recreating what happened to me back in 2016 when I got to that chapter when I initially played it, and always reaching that ending. The ending of this game is perfection. It's still like it still like hits so well, like how great of an ending it is, how understated it is, how perfect it is for its characters, how perfect it is to properly close a book on a character without killing him off, and leaving you in such a high that makes you like really appreciate the entire journey. And I'm glad that I got to experience it again, and now with seeing that I enjoy the gameplay a lot, where I feel it finally broke it for me, where I won't have to replay the entire trilogy again just to kind of get into the mood to play this one. I think I could play into this one again because now I have fun playing it. Before, the thing I loved the most was the story, and the story for me was the end game thing that I like feeling the enhancement of having in mind everything that came before. Now it's gameplay. I'm like, yeah, I could play this now if I'm feeling in the mood, because now I can tolerate the weapon sway more because I have more control over my stick. That's kind of like the one thing that I don't like about the gunplay of 4, that when you shoot something, there's like that little dot in the middle that starts like moving. So there's like a lot of bloom that I went to, and actually because I still had Lost Legacy installed, that has the multiplayer, and I went to play the multiplayer. Multiplayer was always 60 frames, so that was still fun to play. I enjoyed Uncharted multiplayer way back then, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. People are way too good at this now, so I'm getting creamed. Yeah. But then there's the survival mode that they patched in, which was like the horde mode. That thing is in 30 frames, and I tell you, it was unbearable playing it. It was like because the enemies there are bullet sponges, and there was like weird delay of when you were shooting something and seeing the health, because there's enemy health there, and seeing it, you shoot it, and 2 seconds later you will see the health going down. I'm like, man, it sucks that they didn't move the multiplayer forward with the collection, because this would have been good to be able to update at a higher frame rate, because the combat of this game shines when there's better precision instead of it's being stuck at 30. So Lost Legacy, because I already finished the PS4 version and crushing, I didn't feel the need to play this right now. So I only have Last of Us Part 2 left, but I'm taking a little break now because I switched. I actually got 1 month of PlayStation Plus Premium because of one game that was coming out this week. That was also an extra, but I was like, you can now buy stuff just putting credit into the PSN, but extra is $15. Premium was going to be $18. There's no $15 option to buy on Amazon for codes. So I was like, I still have to pay $20. So I was like, I'll test it with my brother's account because he doesn't use it. I have it on my console. I'm going to put the money there. And I was going to buy 20. So I was like, I might as well get premium. And kind of like I mentioned to you a week or two before, that Mr. Matty Plays tested the streaming for like that used to be PS Now. That's now on PS Plus. And I was like, I want to try it now because I do have better internet now. I want to see how it works for me. And I tested the God of War collection, which is God of War 1 and 2, playing on PS5. And I tell you, I'm mighty impressed. I have played that game many, many, many times on PS3. And while it still looks better playing it natively, especially if you look close to your TV and notice the streaming artifacting, the latency I was having with 200 megabyte internet, and I know there's faster connections there in the US, it was indistinguishable from like the PS3 version. They have gotten latency so right in that kind of game that I was like, wow, even my brother, who is the 240 frames a second PC player now, playing Call of Duty all the time, I asked him, test this, and he was like, did you download this? I was like, no. So I was like, okay, that says a lot.
That he didn't notice is what I feel is really the clincher. But even when you were showing it to me, I was like, all right, I don't think I'm like seeing anything really crazy.
And here's what's even crazier, because I didn't realize when I sent you that video of the latency, it got even better because at that time I was downloading a game. So there was only like 1 second delay, okay. And when I went back to it after I finished downloading some stuff, I was like, why is this even more responsive? Am I crazy? Did my mind just already get used to how it feels? And nope, it was still snappy. I was like, wow, you know what? It's like, ideally native would be what we want, because I feel if I play a shooter, maybe that's where I'm gonna feel a little bit more. It's gonna feel a little bit more off. for me, but I gotta give them, it's like they must have done something with their cloud services to make that thing feel playable. Like, I can honestly say, if you have a good internet connection, you want to play like some of the old games that are only on PS3, especially God of War is not available natively on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 other than God of War 3 Remastered.
Yeah.
And if you want to play like those old games and it being a character action game, I have no qualms recommending the premium now. Obviously mentioned because I also played the
curious.
Yeah, you just test it. Definitely.
Yeah.
We can definitely test it with the shared account.
That's true.
Yeah, because I renewed my year for my own account. I was like, dang it, and the only way to like, you cannot do 1 year and then just pay a month for like the upper tier. If you're already in the year, you can only upgrade for a full year for the rest of the money for the other 2 tiers. But my brother didn't have PS Plus, so that's kind of why it's snuck in the 20 there. We can try it sometime. And especially because if they keep putting interesting games into the service and we don't want to pay full $30 for them, I feel that would be like a nice way to like at least play them. Like this other one, Stray. So
yes,
that was the reason.
Another reason. So
yeah,
tell me about that.
Yeah, so Stray was the reason why I bought the month of it, because if I wanted to buy the game, it was $30. And they were very like, Sony was being cheeky. Hey, you can play this cheap. When you press buy, you go into a menu that says, hey, you can play this in your subscription. You can save this money. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll save it. I was interested in Stray, and I was interested in Stray because of how often they promoted it. Stray was promoted in the PS5 reveal event from June 2020, and then was like re-shown again in the second one, and then Stray was shown again in the last state of play we watched. That's when we learned that it was going to be part of the service. So I was like, you know what? It's like, I want to see if Sony's putting their money where their mouth is in the kind of games that they're at least going to give us day one in the service, since they're not giving us first party stuff. And I tell you, Stray was the equivalent of the Ratatouille scene, of the critic testing the Ratatouille and like flashing back into something. Stray is a homage of back to the Katamari era of Sony. There's like this kind of weird artistic games that they used to do. And Stray, like, and not only that, Stray is like probably the best representation I've ever seen of a cat in a game. Just the way the cat's animated, the ways like you can annoyingly make the cat drop stuff when you press triangle and a bunch of stuff. The way that with context sensitive, you can make, you know how some cats like to get close to like to something, and then like they stretch their back and they start like cuddling and then just like sleep in. And I feel they really took their time in like nailing that cat animation. It makes me wonder, did they like what was the word? Did they motion capture the cat? Because it's like it's
very well animated. I was looking at some random animated pieces of videos of gameplay of it, but they're like very quick pieces, so I don't really know what the game's about still.
So Stray is like in a general sense, Stray starts with your cat, with a group of cats, and then when they're like traveling from where they are, your cat falls and separates from its family. You assume it's his family, and you fall into this like dystopian / cyberpunkian city that's like, there's like no humans in it, but there's like some robots. But it's like a think about it this way. It's like a post-apocalyptic Last of Us as you play it with a cat. And as you play with the cat, you find out you find this robot called B12 that serves as your Navi from Zelda Ocarina of Time, someone that speaks with you and can translate the robot language of the robots that you find out that are actually behave like humans. And then you actually realize that human AI has been inserted into these robots because humanity ceased to exist in a very Nier Automata way. I was like, oh, they took inspiration from Nier. Interesting.
Yeah.
And the gameplay is like, what's funny is that it takes a lot of inspiration from Uncharted. It has the visual design of Uncharted that tells you where to go without really telling you. Like Uncharted, especially 2 and 3, you knew where to go if you saw what was painted in yellow. As part of like as part of their design, there's or sometimes like what's illuminated harder than other things. like Last of Us, when you're in the Sarah scene running, there's like this one area that's like clearly illuminated, and there's like a yellow flag that basically tells you, hey, go here, without telling you go here.
That immediately reminded me of something, because I was watching that channel of Troy Baker and Nolan North replaying The Last of Us 1, and they weren't actually learning the right lessons from that segment. So they would try to keep going forward after the gas station exploded and immediately die, and they're like, I don't understand why. Because there was a spot that like was a gap in the environment and you could just keep running. So that was just really funny that you mentioned that. But anyway, continue.
Yes. Yeah, so there's like that kind of platforming, and then there's like environmental puzzles that you get inside of like some trash cans, roll them over so you can kind of climb up. Your cat is very like is very versatile in jumping really high, because of course cats somehow know how to jump really like really tall. I don't know how they do that, but they have that ability, so they capture that.
Cats already do, and it's kind of shocking, honestly, because they look like they can't do crap, and then they jump 6 feet.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? How did you do that?
Exactly, yeah. And then like then it becomes a platformer, then it becomes a stealth game, then it becomes an adventure game. Like there's like these 2 hub sections in this game where you can like explore the city, talk to robots, and there's sections where you're like, I need you to get me this that may be in this place, but then when you go into this place, it tells you, hey, I'm gonna give you this if you bring me this other stuff. And you know how point and click adventures used to be like, get this and all this, and it does that a lot. Those are one of the few parts that I was like not quite as enjoying, because the game doesn't really signpost to you a lot. So I spent a lot of my time just like moving from corner to corner, talking with everyone just to try to make sense of some stuff. And there's no map in this game, so you have to like really understand the layouts visually. And I was like, if Paul would play this, I bet he would have a tough time trying to move through this environment. Even though then when I figured it out, I was like, I'm stupid, the signposts are there.
You just gotta learn the right language for the game, at least.
Exactly, yeah. And a lot of like walking slowly behind companions, so very Uncharted, very Uncharted like. The companions that open doors and all that, and you're just, but in our times where you usually have your pet following you, now you're the pet controlling that while everyone else like pushes through. And visually, I would say it's like, it's a stunner. It's like it's very artistic, and it's a cyberpunkian / minimalist design. I posted a photo dump in our in our chat, that even though the game doesn't have a photo mode, which I'm shocked that there's none, I was just screenshotting my gameplay. It was like I really enjoyed experiencing, like, there's this place called Midtown that's straight up cyberpunk, like has all the different colors, and that's where most of the rest of the adventure happens. And ultimately I feel like it tries to strive for like a companionship story that I feel a game like Journey from PS3 did it better without saying anything at all, just on visual alone. And it's not that it was challenging, but it was like, it's a very passive game most of the time. There's barely any combat in it. There's only one section where you can even qualify as combat, because there's like this animals called the Rust. They're like kind of things that just devour things. If they get into your cat, you have to like press circle quickly to shake them off. If not, they're gonna devour you and you get killed immediately. And eventually you find this purple lamp that when you like light that lamp on them, they explode. And you get that purple lamp by a robot named Doc. That's a straight up inspiration from Doc Brown from Back to the Future, because your objective for when you're with him is to power up this lamp. He says he needs 1.21 gigawatts of energy, which is which it's a straight up reference. They weren't being cheeky about it. And for a little bit you can combat those like things in like a subway, in like a subway level, and then after that your thing gets destroyed, and then you just have to run away, and then you don't combat anything anymore. And then the final like quote unquote action scene at the end are stealth levels where you escape from a factory. And I would say that it changes its gameplay like from moment to moment, so that it's in a 4 to 5 hour runtime. it doesn't feel monotonous. It's only in those parts that are more adventure like that is like, I'm gonna need you to get me a hat and a jacket so you can help me infiltrate this factory. Okay, where is this? Where is this hat? Okay, it's in one store over here, and then you go to the store and the guy is not letting you in because they're remodeling and they have like robots bringing in merchandise, but they're not bringing it in because someone is like, one of the workers want to get a drink at a bar and has passed out, so
like
you have to go.
Those,
yeah.
It's the, oh gosh, I can't lie. I kind of hate when the games do that crap because I used to do it all the time for the Putt Putt and was it Spy Wolf, Pajama Sam games back in the day.
Yeah. So it's kind of like in that vibe. So if you don't like that kind of thing, I don't know if you would 100% recommend this, because even though the entire game isn't like this, it's only in those two sections. So you just have to kind of get into a mindset. Okay, it's time for adventure. Well, I have to go from left to right. But I feel like, especially more than ever, this is why subscriptions like this are great for these kinds of games. Just based on what I had to pay to like get to experience a 4 to 5 hour thing, I feel Sony did right of putting this in a subscription where you can basically get it for either $15 a month or the 18, and or the 10 months, $10 a month if you pay the yearly. That's $120. Because it's like I don't see myself replaying this game again. This was like a one and done for me, but I still enjoyed that it was given to me like that, and I feel this is a great way to get more people to get to try this kind of game, because this is kind of like in that AAA/indie style, because this is definitely not a AAA game, but it presents itself as one, like that high quality indie. Maybe not something like Kena, but something like just slightly below, but way above like what we consider indie games. And
it definitely looks high budget enough.
Exactly, it looks high budget enough, and it's sweet and charming enough that I still was able to stomach the two sections that I found tedious. And I totally started playing it, and I didn't stop playing until I finished last night. I thought I was gonna do it in like 2 sittings, but I just kept going, because there's like there's a sweetness to it that, again, like in a time where we have talked about maybe you don't want like the cynicism like that some games give you. I feel this game is like charming enough that even though it's still like wallowing in dystopia in a way, it's like done in a way that's like charming, that you don't mind it, and in the end you're left smiling at the end. And it's just so cute, especially if you love cats. You absolutely have to give this a try.
I think just from the chill vibes and the cat walking through dystopian world might catch me, and especially if we try to do it anyway. If we get it all, I'm gonna try it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's definitely like, it's something I definitely say, if you're in that subscription, absolutely try it, and definitely try it if you want to see Sony invest in more games that they're gonna give you for that service.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know if I would feel the same way having paid $30 for it, for me personally. So
yeah.
So I would say if I would have to rate it myself, it's probably like a 7.5 out of 10. It's really good. Not great, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. And I don't know, like I think it's an easy platinum. I don't know how to check, because there's a bunch of collectibles that I just you can do a lot. I think you can extract a few more hours out of it. I beat it in 4. People say you can extract like 6-7 out of it, because there's a lot of exploration, kind of side content, if it's not really side content, that you can do in the 2 hub worlds it gives you. Like you can find collectibles for music. Then you can I just send you a picture. There's like this guy with like a guitar. Then you can just chill next to him, just press triangle, and then your cat curls up next to it while he's playing and play some really cool music. There's like 8 of those music sheets hidden in that level. So, and there's like a place where you can buy it. I think you can get some costumes, because you can knit a poncho that you give as a quest item to someone that fixes like a transcriber for you. So I feel you can get more out of it. I feel like I got enough of what I needed out of it, and I would still say, yep, I recommend it. So
I wanted to point something out, because you talked about completion time, and it made me want to Google the completion time for Uncharted 1, which on average is 8 to 9 hours. So you beat it in half the time it should have taken.
Yeah. In easy.
So I'm gonna say just blast through games. I mean, you beat Uncharted Lost Legacy on Crushing in like a quick afternoon. You were like, yeah, so I beat that on Crushing. Let's move on. I was like,
Yeah.
you what? So just wanted to point out that you are just
Yeah,
human typhoon.
Yeah, but also I didn't engage in most of the side stuff in this one, so...
Oh, they said that was without the side stuff. If
Yeah.
it was, it would have been like 17 hours. Yeah.
There you go. And also, like, Uncharted 1, I beat it so many times, I know where to go all the time, so that's what made it quicker for me.
Sure.
Even with how much time I was still exploring, I was still shocked that I came in at 4 hours with Stray. So, but again, there's like... I think for trophy completion, you can add another hour or two. It's still like... I feel like I always said that I like when games are violent, that they're different enough. If Stray has something that I appreciate, even though it's like a platformer, it's very unique compared to other kinds of platformers, and I really appreciate that about it. And as disenchanted as it can be of the kinds of games that Sony really puts their money towards, I feel they did put their money behind this one. They don't own Annapurna, but they really saw something here that's the kind of indie that they want to invest in. It feels the same way as Akina, that they identified something that is a relatively high quality. And I feel it's this year's Kena, but Kena definitely like left a bigger impression on me because it was more of an amalgamation of the kind of game I liked. But Stray still was really cool to try, and I hope that we see it. Let's see what kind of games they still put in that service. So, Paul, we got a bevy of news, an interesting batch here, so let's not beat around the bush. Press X.
Or some news.
All right, Paul. So, BGC, this one, as I was recollecting the news, it literally just broke. I was like, oh, interesting. So, BGC former Uncharted and Last of Us director Bruce Straley has announced a new studio named Wildflower Interactive. Straley spent 18 years at Naughty Dog, where he served as co-game director on Uncharted 2, The Last of Us, and Uncharted 4 before stepping away from game development 5 years ago. Straley says, in 2017 I left the industry, not sure if I wanted to make games anymore, but the longer I was away, I kept thinking about this medium and everything yet to be done and everything I wanted to do still. And this idea kept following me. So I grabbed some friends and we started prototyping, and the idea started getting good. It started becoming exciting again, and I realized I need to make this game. But if I'm going to make this game, it means I have to build a team, he continued. And if I build a team, I have to build a company. And well, if we're going to do that, then we have to do it the right way. It has to be inclusive, equitable, and collaborative. Full of big-hearted people that want to grow both professionally and personally, the culture needs to be as iterative as the way we make games. According to Wildflower's website, the studio is making smallish, creatively charged, uniquely stylized games that explore the possibilities of the medium. It's currently a fully remote work environment, and it's hiring for a number of positions, including COO, studio manager. The existing team has worked on the Call of Duty series, The Pathless, Absu, Astroneer, and
Bridge of Spirits.
Yeah. Straley said, we've got an exciting partner that supports what we're doing and is going to help us reach the broadest audience possible. I'm super excited about what we're building over here. We're making something I've never played before. It's interesting.
Oh.
Last week, what were the pictures I was sending you from? Like, remember I was sending you a bunch of tweets from him? And me telling
he was
you
talking about Uncharted and that whole process, which was really interesting because I don't think I knew most of it.
Yeah, he was like the game director of Uncharted 2, game director of 4, and also game director of the original Last of Us.
Yeah.
So he didn't work on Uncharted 3. He did some art on Uncharted 1, and he didn't work at all on Lost Legacy and Uncharted and Last of Us Part 2. But you can definitely say that this guy in particular has made 3 of Naughty Dog's biggest and most celebrated games.
You could definitely say that for sure.
Yeah.
So it's honestly, this is like the Vince McMahon WWE meme where it's got him like kind of sitting there in the chair, and then each progressive thing he's like, oh, like just getting more excited about it. Because honestly, this sounds awesome. The fact that this guy stepped away and then he's like, but actually we had this really interesting idea that was so good that I literally wanted to go back out of retirement to build an entire company so I could build it. And if we do that, well, then we might as well make more stuff. So we might as well do this. And then it's like, that's that reluctant kind of game development that I almost really like, because he's just like, I know this is a good enough game, and I know anybody else would mess it up, so I might as well do it
he is
myself.
also putting he's putting money where his mouth is. On February 10, 2021, he tweeted, now that Bruce Raley, now that realistic graphics are at every dev's fingertips, stylization and art direction is going to be essential.
That was him. Okay.
Yeah, to stand out from the crowd. Good art directors, creative artists, and artistically minded rendering engineers are needed now more than ever. And then he like followed up like a quote to being like, just gonna leave this here on April 5th. What does this wildflower thing says is like, he wasn't just pulling that out of his butt. He's like, now they're doing something stylized.
And I mean, just the fact that they mentioned Kena Bridge of Spirits, which is like perfect realism, like of the environment, but perfectly capturing a cartoony feel.
Yeah, it's interesting that he got people from Call of Duty here also, but
yeah, that was interesting. But I mean, that's such a huge group that could be anybody within that. But then Pathless, Abzu, that all matches because that's
artistic.
Like,
it's
perfectly
artistic,
artistic, very stylistic. But then, I mean, volumetric lighting has done wonders for the world of gaming, and it's made everybody's lives a lot easier. And I feel like even in pixel art games uses it, so it's like just the stuff that's capable right now. And if he has something good enough that he wants to come and build an entire fully remote development team, which was had me interesting. I was like, oh shoot,
hey, you should my hat in the ring. Yeah, absolutely, put it out. I mean, you put like a stylist thing, see if there's like any concept art, like if they need like character designers.
I know. So that it's like just interesting enough, and they really want to go about a very specific way of doing things that I really respect, honestly. And the fact that he has said so many things that I seem to line up with, especially that stylized realism being the top of that list.
Uncharted 2 was stylized realism.
Exactly. And the fact that it was that makes it age so much better than all of the other games that came out in that year. And I'll stake pretty much anything on that one.
Yes. He tweets also. He also tweets, and if you're a dev that's looking for a secure and safe place to grow, that wants to push this awesome medium and give back to our industry, we've got jobs listed over at, and he put the link there. Follow him at Bruce_Straley.
Just gonna go ahead.
Yeah. You gotta look what he has. Actually, like it, I'm clicking on it. Let's see what it shows. Oh, the website is kind of, it's interesting, like a flower that then just sprouts. It's really cool. It's let me see.
So I'm just gonna pull that up and have that in the background. Oh, that's awesome.
It's a really cool art, and it's so funny. Like he literally stopped developing because him having to do because he did Uncharted 2 from 2007 to 2009. Then he broke away, like him and Neil Druckmann kind of like siloed themselves for like a full year while they were concepting what they were going to do after. In fact, initially one of the concepts was a Jak 4.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Wow, really?
Yeah. But they didn't want to make Jak and Daxter like they used to be, so they were concepting like maybe a more like modern looking Jak and Daxter, and it didn't look great for them. So it was like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. And then that's where the original, the idea of The Last of Us came out. Like, while they were concepting, they went to see No Country for Old Men. And then after seeing that movie, they both were like, what if we could make a game that could hit with this kind of impact? And then they were seeing that BBC documentary about cordyceps, and that's where kind of like the idea of Last of Us came. And then they worked on Last of Us from 2010 all the way to 2013, ramping up as soon as Uncharted 3 shipped. So Uncharted 3 was being made while they were like concepting and being ready to like move to that other project. And he had mentioned to Australia that Last of Us was one of the hardest projects he had ever worked on, because doing a new IP at the end of a generation, completely different systematically wise from what they were doing with Uncharted, and also tonally wise, they were not sure that game was going to hit until it hit. In fact, when they mock reviewed that Last of Us, you know what mock reviews are, right?
I think so, but remind me anyway.
So mock reviews is when they they hired like a private a private firm to come and review the product to kind of give them an idea of like, okay, if you put this product out there, this may be the kind of reviews that you might get.
Got it.
Like mock reviews were very important because at least it gives them an idea, but sometimes mock reviews can be wrong. In that case, like that mock review said that game was going to be in the 80s in Metacritic, that it was going to be like the lowest scoring thing that they had done that generation, so to brace themselves. And then Last of Us came out and it was like voted the best game of that generation. So it was like sometimes it's so that came as a huge relief for them. But then the whole thing with Uncharted 4 imploded. They were not going to work on that game. In fact, they were getting ready to rest and be like, okay, we're going to rest, and then I'll take that a little time to start concepting to see what we want to do. Maybe the sequel immediately or other stuff. And then Amy Hennig departed the project, and the presidents called him in. And they were like, so they knew what they were being called for. So who's heading who's going to be heading Uncharted 4 now? And then the presidents were like, we were hoping you guys would. So, and then the plan originally was that Bruce and Neil were going to just steer the project, nurture some directors that was starting to show directing chops by the end of Uncharted 3 and the original Last of Us. And then they would step away and leave them with that project. The problem is that then they saw the importance of getting that game right was, especially after the more lukewarm but still successful reception to 3, and the whole Amy leaving and everyone be like, they're gonna ruin the series now that the creative director left. So they felt the pressure. You should read it in the Blood, Sweat, and Pixels book that I showed, the audiobook from Jason Schreier. He like details all of that there. By the end of 2014, when they showed that game for the first time, that Bruce demoed that game at PSX, that's when he knew. He was like, I want to rest, but we gotta get this. I need to see this through. Yeah. And then the problem was that they did 3 years worth of work in 1 year.
It just shocks me how well that game plays. And
just think about it. The game that you absolutely love, was built in a year.
I know. I don't know how they pulled that off. No. And that's why I sit at the throne of Naughty Dog and pay my respects, as pissed off as they sometimes make me, where I'm like, but you also made a really great game and ended a really good series.
That's the thing. They only make great games. They haven't done a bad one yet.
They haven't really. No.
So yeah, it's like it's so funny thinking about that, but doing that amount of work in such a compressed amount of time, and for that game to come out as good as it did and as beloved as it is, it's like that took a lot for Bruce, and that's why he went on sabbatical. He literally was like, I'm going on sabbatical after Uncharted 4 shipped. He went on sabbatical, and then a year after his sabbatical, he was like, I'm out. I'm done making games right now. And,
I think that would probably cause anybody to do something like that, and the fact that he still had the dregs of passion inside him to come back out of it is just a testament to his own passion, which means that whatever he has is willing to brave, like, all right, that sucked, but this is really cool, so I'm gonna do it anyway.
And I feel he has the I think he has the secret sauce of what makes like a game cool. Like he always tweets this and he reminds everyone. He says, we make the games we want to play because no one else is gonna make them. Yeah, that's kind of like his mantra.
Look at even after Uncharted's success, you could say like one other big budget company tried to copy it with the reboot of Tomb Raider, but it's
not as good.
And it's just there's nothing else like what Naughty Dog does, even ever since. You could go all the way back to the stuff that they did beforehand. They still did it better than anybody else trying to copy them. And then after a while, everyone just kind of stopped. There's no really good adventure games the way Uncharted does it.
That does everything as well as they do. Because that's the thing, like Naughty Dog games, especially now replaying them, it's like, I would say you can make the argument just on raw gameplay. There may be other games that do gameplay better.
Sure.
But no other game, no other series does the motion capture as well as they do, the graphical fidelity, the voice acting quality, the storytelling quality, even as something as divisive as Last of Us Part 2, the way it tells its story, it's like no other people are telling the story like they do. So it's like their games are kind of like in a league of their own, and obviously I mentioned one of the reasons I lean a little bit more towards God of War is like them really like, because Naughty Dog does like competent, fun enough gameplay and great embellishment of everything else. God of War was taking the embellishment and adding that extra embellishment to the gameplay and showing, yeah, you can make that. I would argue Last of Us Part 2, gameplay wise, is Naughty Dog's best playing game. The way like the character moves, feels, and how you aim and shoot is like, it's still a step, like they have at least been improving on the gameplay side when before it was like more stilted. I noticed that more going from the Nathan Drake collection now to a 60 frames version of 4. Like or not, like they at least they're improving their craft there and the way that they're playing. So, and they can a lot and a lot of like what made Naughty Dog great, like Bruce really spearheaded that. And now I want to see what he can do in a more like cartoony, stylized thing that's not like in the high budget area. I feel that must be really liberating, not having like the weight of an entire company in their shoulders. Because that was the problem with Uncharted 4. Like people, that like everything was down to Uncharted 4 in those first 3 years of the PS4 when the games were still not ready. Uncharted 4 opening the salvo. So,
it's always impressive what they can do.
Yeah, excited, and I hope it comes out quick. Also, if they're doing that kind of game. So
gosh, if I could get that to happen.
Yes.
Oh.
So staying in Naughty Dog adjacent stuff, Paul. Number 2. It will appear leaks will continue to haunt Naughty Dog for the rest of their days. As relayed by BGC, footage and comparison images from The Last of Us Part 1 emerged online last night, from when we were recording. As posted to Reset Era, the images, which have been mirrored on Imgur, show off Joel's brother Tommy, Tess, in a brief clip of the game's opening sequence. It's also been claimed by the person who leaked the images that the game has, quote, no gameplay improvements, and that the upgrades are primarily to animation and audio. It was widely speculated that The Last of Us Part 1 would adopt The Last of Us Part 2's improved movement and shooting mechanics. The game reportedly supports VRR by a variable refresh rate and will feature 2 visual modes, a gameplay mode which will run at 4K 40 FPS and a dynamic mode which will run at 4K 60 FPS. I showed you the image yesterday.
Yeah.
I actually went and looked as a side by side. I put in both images. This is how Remastered looks. This is how it looks. They have put out some visual work in that thing. They have. The
However,
gameplay improvements part though, they have been very upfront saying that they actually did. So more than
that's
ever,
where I was like, it almost sounds like somebody just trying to throw.
Yeah, just what they saw. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna like try to disparage them as best I can, because what are they gonna do? Post something to combat it? No, they're gonna. Yeah. They can't show any of that until way later.
And let's not forget, when The Last of Us Part 2 leaks happened, the whole thing, the leakers were saying, oh yeah, Joel gets killed by a tranny with a golf club. Like they were they're saying that Abby was trans.
You could say without context, you could see how some people could find that answer out of it, but I know like the order of everything was really wrong, because they said that it happened at the end of the game.
At the end of the game, and then you killed it, and then you went to kill Ellie.
Right.
That's what they were saying. Just taking out of context the scene where you play as Abby in that boss fight against Ellie in the theater.
So there's a lot that got wrong about it, and I think there's a lot of people still pissed about Last of Us 2 that are willing to just throw lies into the void. So I'm like, if it's true, that's terrible, and I am not going to be happy about it in a future episode. However, I feel like that's not true, and that they probably made a lot of improvements. Yeah,
and I feel those improvements, you can't really say they're improvements until you have a controller in your hand.
Yeah,
like because there's like the feel of movement. It's feel when you're like moving the stick, not sometimes with what you look. So it's very easy to say, oh yeah, they didn't change anything. But I feel this more than ever. I feel especially now that this remake has gone gold. We're less than a month and a half for this thing to come out. Sony always puts out a state of play about any game that they put out all the time. They even did it for Demon's Souls remake, and that was also a remake. They did it for Gran Turismo, they did it for Horizon, they did it for Ratchet & Clank, they did it for Returnal. They always do state of play, like showcase.
Wait a second. What is the date for this?
September 2nd. Yeah.
It's more than a month.
Less than a month and a half.
Oh, less than a month and a half. Okay, I didn't hear the last part. Anyway,
yes, exactly.
I was trying to do math in my head, and I could not process anything else.
In 2 weeks, we're only gonna be like a month away from this thing from coming out. So they absolutely now, like, we know the visuals look different. They absolutely do. In parts, it definitely looks better. In times, I feel artistically, maybe the original has like a little bit more artistic oomph to it. But they have to really showcase what they're proving about like the gameplay part.
Definitely.
Like, they absolutely have to, because at this point, I still believe them based on how 2 felt. Like,
I believe them especially for that, but I'm gonna definitely need to see gameplay before I decide on it, because if it's true and it plays exactly like 2, then I'll get that sucker day 1. But they need to show me that it's gonna be that way, because I don't think it's gonna hold up for me without it.
Yeah, I play Remastered, and I said I still enjoy playing through it, but 2 is just much better playing.
Yeah, I know, especially after just having played 2, that's going to feel like a huge step down for me. So that would mean that I would want to not pick it up.
That I would agree. But again, they have a month to show.
Yeah.
Sorry, they have a month to show it. So now this is their leaks, and again, like, Naughty Dog is like, it's that kind of thing that's at the top of the pile that everyone will want to do everything to shit on them. So that's why it's like, they got it. Especially, here's the thing. This is not a new game. We know what The Last of Us is. Just show it. Show the things that are improved. That's
a good point. I feel like they could do more to show us the differences besides. Well, I mean, maybe they just wanted to do it in bursts, where it's like, all right, here's all the visual stuff, and then later on show us the gameplay. But I feel like everyone knows the gameplay is where.
Exactly. With part 2, they were a little in a bigger trickle because of when they could produce those discs. A lot of that game, it like relied so much on the surprise also, so they really couldn't combat that also. So they were in a bigger precarious position when 2 leaked compared to this. This is just the same game looking better. So still hoping that the extra animation work is going to make it feel and play better. So we'll see. Naughty Dog, just speak. So, Number 3, Paul. Not that much later than the confirmation of the acquisition of Canadian studio Haven, PlayStation has completed its acquisition of Destiny studio Bungie. The agreement to acquire Bungie has closed, the company said on Friday, so now we can officially say ... welcome to the PlayStation family. The closing of both Bungie and Haven last week completes an acquisition spree from Sony's fiscal year ending on March 2022, which included Returnal developer Housemarque, PC port specialist Nixxes, UK-based Firesprite, Demon's Souls remake studio Bluepoint, and Seattle-based Valkyrie. In the same period, Sony invested in Discord, Devolver Digital, and live service game platform Axelbyte. When I looked at it that way, I'm like, dang, that all happened within a year? Because the announcements of these acquisitions was done in January for Haven and Bungie. Actually, January and February.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive, honestly, that they bought so much, but it didn't register in like the collective mind of the internet, because it was all stuff that it was just kind of under the radar, or it was such a shoo-in because, like you said, they always love to work so much with that company that by the time they say they've acquired them, we go, wait, didn't they already own them?
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than, oh my gosh, they bought another studio. But with all of that, that's kind of impressive with how many studios they've really bought, and it just goes to show that I mean, it feels like we're beating a dead horse by now. Sony buys stuff, but then they also put out a lot of variety, and people keep clowning on Sony for putting out the same game, and that's just not true, especially not after this recent renaissance of their exclusives the last like 3-4 years.
Yeah. And it's funny because out of this 7 acquisitions, only 2 of them were from the traditional MO of how they did it before. Let's work with you for many years, and then we're gonna put the ring on it. Obviously, we can still blame Microsoft the way they're playing the market, that it forced them into this. Like, because if not, it's like in Microsoft still wanting to swallow everything left and right, there was not going to be enough time for PlayStation to do the traditional let's nurture a relationship and then let's just close the deal. So, but they're also, if you look at the things that they're acquiring, they're also very strategic based on what they have said they want to do. Haven and Bungie are specifically acquisitions made for their live service initiative. Remember what we talked about Haven last week? Yeah, that they're doing R&D for like some cloud-based stuff that should help them with like live service stuff. And Bungie has the most successful live service game currently on the market, not called Fortnite, one that's 8 years strong, has learned every pitfall available twice in 2 games. And then like Nixus, a PC port specialist, they have like a company specifically tasked to put their exclusives on PC without having the main developers have to do the PC port themselves. Like Spider-Man Remastered and Miles Morales on PC are coming from Nixus. Insomniac is not doing anything. Insomniac is free to do whatever they want to do, like apart from that. Firesprite is an interesting one because it has people from an old Sony studio in Liverpool that they closed. They are the ones that did Wipeout, and then they kind of collectively became Firesprite. That acquisition was like, and they did a bunch of BR stuff also. So Firesprite was acquired late last year, just kind of it feels like a mea culpa of like, sorry guys, we closed you down, but we still like you, so come back to the family under this new name. And it had like 250 people there, so it's a big studio. Then Valkyrie is one that was more low key. That one's more of a support studio. This is the kind of studio that you put your big talent behind, as like, we're working on Horizon, but we need to help to push it through. But we're now gonna grab another first party to help us there. Valkyrie, come in. It's something like that. They're the ones that they're for the extra groundwork. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, and then obviously we heard about the investment of Discord happened within the first or second episode that we came back. Mm-hmm. You remember that we were like talking?
I still remember we were talking about it. I was so excited. Yeah. This next one is interesting then.
Exactly. In lieu of that whole thing with Discord. Number 4. Even with Sony's minority share investment in Discord, Xbox beat them to the punch in one important aspect: getting native Discord voice chat. Announced and available today for selected Xbox insiders, they'll be able to chat with anyone on Discord via voice channels or group calls directly from Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One consoles. Microsoft said the update, which will enable Discord users to connect across Xbox, mobile, and PC, will roll out to more users over the coming weeks and be available to everyone soon. While playing on console, users will be able to see who is in the call and speaking. They'll also be able to adjust the sound and switch between Discord voice chat and Xbox game chat.
What I wish we could have had.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The thing
I don't
is
even know if I have that much to say about it, besides the fact that I'm just disappointed that Xbox somehow got it first.
Yes, well, that's the thing, and Zach reminded us today because I had completely forgotten that Xbox and Discord already kind of had like a partnership where they had an integration. That's what we just got with PlayStation recently, where you see who is playing what in like your friends list in Discord. That was done in 2018. I was kind of
confused in that whole process because, well, obviously I didn't know about the Xbox and Discord thing, but I was wondering why they're able to partner with a specific company and then still partner with others. I thought that was like a bigger deal.
Yeah, the thing is that when Xbox and Discord partnered, it's like Discord was by itself and Xbox was all about the services. So yeah. They partnered there and it was like a minimal thing, but it was like starting nurturing the relationship. But the thing was that Xbox then, in traditional Xbox fashion, they wanted to acquire Discord entirely. Yeah. The thing is that Discord said no, on top of the fact that because Xbox already had, well, Microsoft already had Skype.
Yeah.
They were like this was not gonna like play well because it was like they were gonna be seen as trying to monopolize that kind of video chat market. They already had Skype, use Skype. So PlayStation came in and instead of acquiring, be like, hey, we want to invest in what you're doing with a minority share thing. So that's why like we got what Xbox got in 2018, we got with PlayStation in 2021. Now the big question is if Xbox is already doing this voice chat, I would assume Sony's gonna try to do everything possible to get that because Xbox being the first one to do Discord, the most important chat tool for gamers right now. And
especially now that we're in a Destiny 2 clan, but I've realized that it is invaluable for D&D and video calls for gaming sessions for development groups. Actually, I became part of a local one that organizes like game sessions of like building games together. So it is invaluable to that whole community.
If we didn't have to pay for Nitro, we would record our podcast in Discord. A lot of people record the podcast in Discord. So Zoom is just easier for us, but that's how invaluable Discord is. And I imagine if people get to create content now from within Xbox just by being in the Discord chat there, it's like that's big. that they get that now. So Sony, even though you put the money and you gotta like, they gotta do that, because this is the kind of thing that is the kind of tiny little thing that online communities are gonna see and be like, oh man, I'm gonna go on the Xbox side because I want to be able to chat with all my PC friends and all of that. So
yeah, as it is right now, you got to either have a PC nearby or your phone, and then just jack in your headset instead of your headset into whatever game audio that you want to be listening to, and just hope that you don't need it.
And I tell you, like, Xbox just beats Sony like left and right when it comes to software development. In that kind of software,
where it counts, yeah.
Exactly. Like Sony beats Xbox in putting actual games out and them being like highly regarded. But it's like it tells us again, this what I love the most about this generation. They're both throwing punches at each other.
I just hope that they both realize it, because sometimes Sony is just like, yeah, we're still winning, and you're like, but are you?
Yeah.
In some of those ways.
Yeah, technically they still are. They're still, so they have sold more, but it's not as wide a gap as it used to be.
Yeah.
Number 5, Paul. This broke literally the day after we recorded last week, and this is the equivalent of grabbing the balloon and completely deflated it. Number 5, EA has announced that Skate 4 is officially called
Skate,
and that the game will be free to play. The game, which will release on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, will support crossplay as well as cross progression. Whether the game is current gen or will receive last gen versions is unknown. Revealed as part of the boardroom, which was like this live stream they did to kind of like give more details, the game isn't technically a sequel to the 3 Skate games released in the Xbox 360 era, but rather a platform that the team plans to expand for years. The game takes place in a new city known as Amsterdam, which is in the same universe as Skate's San Banalona. As part of explaining the free-to-play approach to Skate, the team were quick to claim that the game won't feature pay-to-win mechanics or any map areas locked behind paywalls. Paid loot boxes also won't feature as part of the game, and any microtransactions will be primarily cosmetic in nature. This is EA we're talking about.
Yep.
So
Sure is.
they can say everything they can possibly say about the monetization, but if there's something that I learned about EA and free-to-play is that there's no other company that handles monetization as wrong as EA. Like, even Apex Legends, they're basically their crown jewel in that kind of like free-to-play market right now is like, playing it, it's good that any progression stuff is like completely separate from cosmetic stuff, but trying to see how much it would cost you to earn skins and all that is a complete nightmare in Apex. And that's a great game. So
it's bad. I mean, some people complain about what Bungie does for the Eververse, and that's nothing compared to like Apex Legends' system of unlocking things with 3 separate currencies. Oh man, and some event currencies on top of that. So anyway,
and here's what's funny is they say there won't be any paid loot boxes, but Tom Henderson found code, because apparently there's playtesters playing the game right now. Is that it was a closed alpha went out for select people that are actually testing the game right now. He went into the code, and one of the a person that let him have access inside the code, there is loot boxes in the game. So
really,
yeah, so it's like that is something that very quickly can flip the switch, and there's paid loot boxes again. It's funny, EA is the only company still to this day that's still
trying to do
loot boxes despite everything that happened with Battlefront.
I mean, you could argue that gacha games are also loot boxes.
No, they are, but that's the thing. Like,
so like Genshin
gacha's by itself, but it's like those are only gacha games that are mostly in China. EA is the only one that's still trying to put Western developed games under the system.
Okay,
if they can. So,
well, wait. Did they take that out of the 2K games finally? Because I feel like their NBA games definitely had it.
They had it, but I think it's still just like straight up currency. I would have to ask my brother because he plays NBA still. He just got the PC version. So
because I remember people were really burning that one down lately.
NBA 2K18 was the first one that got burned to the coal over that. So,
but yeah, just the fact that I was kind of outside of the skate area because I
Mhm.
played a lot of the Tony Hawk's games, and then I kind of just dropped off of them because I stopped really caring about them as
Mhm.
much. And then skate was in that vacuum where couple of my friends played it a lot, and I was like, oh, that looks funny, because they had the ragdoll game
Mhm.
modes and stuff. But I didn't get into it as much, but I know some really did. So this must really crush them to be like, oh, next one's gonna be a platform for more things. I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. We dealt
Yeah.
with that one just last year
Exactly.
with Halo Infinite, and see how well that went. So it's because that's what happens when you release a platform.
You release it half baked. You always release it half baked.
It's got to be empty so you can fill it with all your stuff.
Mhm.
And that just means that people are gonna, I mean, yeah, at least it's free to play on that, but what cost? Literally,
Exactly.
in this case.
Yeah, it costs nothing, but it's again like it just costs cachet. It's like I don't understand. Like that's the thing that I hate about this live service world that we live in. That it's just it has made, and especially now that most live services try to pursue a free to play round. Remember, there were many live service games that were full paid games. Remember Battlefield 5?
Yep.
That was the excuse for why that game was very empty. So.
Oh.
And not to mention 2042 also for coming from EA. But it's just like when you say that you're building a platform that's free to play, it's like you're just giving an excuse to put something out as quick as possible that you can monetize as minimal as viable a product as you can put out, that then eventually just grows. And I have reached the limit there with that. Definitely this is going to be free to play. I'm definitely going to try it, see how empty it actually is, and then just bounce. It's really unfortunate that Activision of all people, obviously right now is like how they handle what came after with what they did with Vicarious Visions, that they got at that team afterwards. But at the very least, there was a point where they put out Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 as a full-on remake. That was a paid complete product. And it was really good. So, and then Greed got caught on them. So, oh man, poor skating community. You guys are suffering. And the only reason Skate became big was because the last traditional Tony Hawk game was Proving Ground in 2007. Then they stopped doing those because the quality was slipping over and over. And then Skate came in kind of like taking the advantage of, Tony Hawk's not doing hot. Let's put something new in the market. And 2008, 2009, and 2010 was when Skate 1, 2, and 3 came out. And Skate 3 in particular was a janky mess that everyone loves. And it became big because freaking PewDiePie played it like 6 years later on a stream. Really? And then like the value of that game skyrocketed again because he suddenly was like, yeah, I want to play Skate again. And then they were like, you know what? We want to go back to Skate.
All of us.
Yeah, what was so funny though is like back in that 2016 to 2020 era, if you went to EA's Instagram, everything that they would post in Instagram, if you went to the comments, it said, we want Skate 4. We want Skate 4. Everyone has been screaming for Skate 4. And now, this is the monkey paw. We're getting Skate 4. It's no longer Skate 4. It's just Skate. And it's going to be free-to-play monstrosity from EA. Which is sad because that's now the stigma it has. But even sadder, the actual core team that made that game back in 2008, 2009, and 2010 came back for this. That was like the big deal when they announced it. So... sad.
I'm just sad about it as well, and it's like history repeats itself once again.
Final story poll, number 6. Nintendo, our favorite, has announced the date on which Wii U and 3DS shops will no longer be available to buy with an existing balance.
Talking about disappointment.
Yeah, the company already removed the ability to buy eShop games with a credit card in May, meaning users now need to separately purchase and redeem physical Nintendo eShop cards in order to buy games and DLC. It also previously warned that from August 29, it will no longer be possible to use a prepaid eShop card to add funds to a Wii U or 3DS balance. Now it has stated that March 27, 2023 will be the last day any existing balance can be used to buy Wii U or 3DS games. Although players will no longer be able to directly add funds using eShop cards from August 29, they will still be able to link their Nintendo Network ID wallet used with the Wii U and 3DS with their Nintendo Account wallet used with the Switch to create a shared balance. As such, Players who do this will still be able to top up their balance on the Switch, then use that shared balance to buy Wii U and 3DS games until March 27 next year. After that date, however, the remaining balance can only be used on the Switch eShop. Nintendo assures that even though no more transactions, including the downloading of free demos and content, will be possible after March 27, the online services won't shut down completely. Even after March 27, 2023 and for the foreseeable future, it will still be possible to re-download games and DLC, receive software updates, and enjoy online play on Wii U and the 3DS family of systems, it says.
Let's say that only lasts as long as they feel like it's
viable.
They don't get burned to the ground for it. So they're going to be like, yeah, absolutely, we're going to keep that going on for the foreseeable future. And then as soon as they're like, all right, does people not care anymore? Shut it down. Dude, that's just one tiny part of all of this.
It's to me
it's
like
sad.
Yeah, to me it's just sad for the games that are only there.
Yep.
That can only be buy on the Wii U shop.
I'm just glad that if one thing that I am glad about all this is that companies have picked up on the fact that even moving forward, their online shop needs to be unified from system to system so that things that are downloaded on it need to be available for the future.
And again,
I mean, just imagine if Sony were to create the PlayStation 6 and then said, all right, it's a whole new PlayStation Network marketplace.
Yeah.
People like you, people like now me, would be just
would
out
flip.
of it.
Yeah, we would completely flip out about it, because credit to Microsoft again for this. Is like they have made it, them being able to work backwards compatibility like they did. Even though it's not 100%, there's many games that they were never able to bring back because of licensing and companies no longer existing. The fact that there's such a vast library of Xbox 360 games, a decent amount of the original Xbox catalog, and all the Xbox One catalog, plus everything that's coming to Series X, is like, it's nice to feel that a good chunk of its history is being respected. Sony used to be all about backwards compatibility. They moved away from that in PS3. PS4, they completely ignored it and used PlayStation Now as their excuse before Microsoft showed that, no, we can do a native. We can do it natively on a console that was not designed for backwards compatibility. That was the whole thing with the way they figure it out. And now, years later, they are now just working on trying to work on a PS3 emulator. So Microsoft, like Trent said there, and it's because it's what I keep saying. This also makes it funny that Konami is gonna like relist Snake Eater 3D on 3DS. And then it's gonna
that just kind of, it's starting to feel more tone deaf as it goes, because they're like, go guys, we totally care about this, we're gonna put it on this super almost obsolete marketplace that's gonna get shut down pretty soon. But we didn't know that, we're just trying to give games to you.
Exactly. So it's like them like if like, this is why I was saying, like when we talked about Metal Gear last week, that they're also releasing the PS3 versions of 2 and 3. And it's like that would work if Sony had unified the PSN store of the PS3 also with the PS4 and the PS5, because if it was unified, listed as a PS3 classic, you can then get it as a PS3 classic natively on 4 and 5. But because it's still isolated, it still feels dumb that they're gonna release it on a store that you literally can't add a credit card anymore. You have to like do the thing that Nintendo's doing, top up in your modern console the wallet, so then you can go to the old console to buy the stuff. Just adding extra pain points for anyone to acquire any of this digital content. At the very least, Sony wised up, because remember, they were going to close down the PS3 store last year. Then the backlash was so severe that they backtracked on it. So, but I feel Nintendo is way too big for its bridges, that everyone... This is what I hate, is because the Nintendo fan base is the worst when it comes to defending this corporation left and right. Even the people that decry it, they're not going to be loud enough, because everyone else sees that everything they do is like perfect. And this is what happens.
We'll always try to defend them, no matter how unjustified it is.
Yeah.
Which hurts, but
exactly.
This is the world we live in.
Exactly. So that's the end of the news poll. And now for the game releases for the week starting from Sunday, July 24th, all the way to Saturday, July 30th. On July 26th, we get Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town, which is a game already on Switch that's now launching on PlayStation 4. It's a farming simulation. Octopath Traveler, Champions of the Continent, a mobile prequel to Octopath Traveler, is coming to iOS and Android on July 27. Bear and Breakfast comes to PC on July 28, and it's a management adventure game where you play as a bear. It looks like Don't Starve if you look at it. So,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, Lost Epic coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. This was an early access game that is moving out from early access, and it's an anime 2D Metroidvania Souls-like. You should look it up. It looks
I
pretty
just
interesting.
did. It does kind of catch my eye. I'm curious.
Yeah. Digimon Survive coming out on July 29th for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is a visual novel meets strategy RPG on the Digimon universe.
This is that one. Okay.
Yeah. And finally, I think this is the big one for this week, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the JRPG threequel, coming to Switch on July 29. Are you going to play any of these games, Paul?
Definitely not.
Yeah, me neither. Lost Epic will be in one that I keep an eye out, just to see what people really think.
I agree. It'll definitely be more of the let's put a pin in these and see if they show up on sale one day. But I know some people are swearing by a few of them. I mean,
people have been talking about Digimon a lot. Yeah,
Digimon. Their recent string of games has had me kind of curious, and even though I wasn't a Digimon kid at the time, I know some people who like just eat those up, and they've just been building more and more steam as time has gone on, but they still seem super niche.
Yeah.
That most people
I'm just such a fan of the Digimon anime, Digimon 1, 2, and 3, that I really want to hear how that one goes, because it's so funny that I like that Digimon anime a lot, but I never played any game that was from Digimon. So
it just felt like when in the games side of it, I kind of showed up. You were just like, I don't want to play the game side of this. I just want to watch the show.
Yeah, which is different with Pokemon. It was like the synergy between the anime and being able to play the game was like neck and neck.
Well, because it felt like the show for Digimon was very different from the game. But this is completely from somebody who's outside of that, because I think they were just very different characters or concepts, maybe.
Yeah, and I know that the anime was sort of rebooted, kind of like in 2020, so it looks different.
Kind of clowned on the reboot of that for certain reasons. I don't really know why.
They clowned the same way in that 2020 revamp of Digimon, the same way that people clowned on Berserk 2016.
Oh, okay, so it just got it. No, say no more.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. Yeah. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I want to hear people either meme on it or say it's good, because I remember after Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, it was like, all right, let's try this out, because nobody had played the first one because it was impossible to find. And then it was, hey, this game plays like an MMO game. Wait, this game's bad. Wait, this game's good. Wait, this game is really weird. And now it's just memes, and now Pyra being in Smash made it come back, kind of. So I want to hear what people have to say about it.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not buying it this time.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's not for me. And again, like I said, like most of the Nintendo library is just not for me. So
yeah, which really hurts. That old generation of Nintendo is what like keeps the older generation with them, but ever since, they've kind of moved on with other series that they'd rather focus on, and it's built an entirely separate outside generation.
And then the franchises that people absolutely still love till this day, like Mario and Zelda, their entries are very few and far between, like new entries.
It's almost like because the expectations are just too strong for them to even bother trying, which really sucks if that's anywhere close to the truth.
Yeah, but it's like Xenoblade is just gonna be a fart in the wind for me. So I can't wait to see it. Like I don't even think PJ plays Xenoblade, so, and you know that he's like the only one that he's like so up Nintendo's butt. So
I am curious to call him a fake fan if he doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Paul.
With that, though.
Yeah, we come to the end of the show. So, Paul, where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I've been posting random video clips lately of games that I've been playing. I actually have 2 of which from Uncharted 1 of it kind of freaking out that I need to show.
Oh,
And then I think actually no, 2 of Destiny, maybe 1 of Uncharted. I'm not sure. But yeah, just doing a lot of that every once in a while, actual art. Where can they find you, Alejandro?
they can find me at A_Segovia on Twitter, at Alejandro Segovia93 on Instagram, and my written content at criticalcorner.com. Paul, it's been a pleasure. Enjoyed doing the show and this new date with you. Gives us even more time. And everyone, stay safe. Enjoy or don't enjoy the heat, or stay cool if you can, if you're in a heat advisory place. And remember, play some games, stay healthy, and
Sucks.
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta luego.